Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Industry Insights. My name's Amanda Thompson. I'm the co-founder of Industry Insights along with Your Game Plan. I'm also the owner and founder of Campus Media, a youth marketing company. This week, we have been learning all about different industries with over 21 different employers and bringing you bite-sized information and insights about those organisations and those industries over the week. And it's a really great opportunity actually to end the week on professional services, as many of those industries that we've put a spotlight on this week are outsourced within professional services to other organisations as well. So I'm joined today by our sponsor, Ernst & Young, and Tilney Smith Williamson, OMG and Aon, who are all going to be introducing themselves and what it is their organisations do in professional services as well. Before we move over, I also want to remind you all that this is an interactive event and we need your questions. So it doesn't matter, don't feel that any question is silly, please pop it down. As soon as it pops into your mind, get it in the chat. That would be great and we'll do our very best to get those answered for you today. If you're struggling to find where the chat box is, you may need to scroll down ever so slightly, pop your name in there. It doesn't have to be your real name. You can pop your school name in there as well if you prefer to be anonymous. And then we will get those answered straight away. So we're going to move over without delay now to Finlay from Ernst & Young.
So as said, I'm Finlay. I work at EY in the International Tax and Transactions Department. Alongside the International Tax and Transactions Department, we also have various other tax departments, as well as departments in assurance, technology and strategy. So the strategy and technology teams work quite hand in hand together, developing businesses to build a better working world for the future. And we also have our assurance departments, which mainly focus on things like audit, which is just making sure financial statements are correct and things like that. And then we have our tax team, which is the department I work in at the moment, which mainly just sort of deals with any sort of business-based tax. That could be due to companies selling things, sort of corporation tax, which is just tax based on revenue, or things that could be when selling a company. So we've had big companies that have sold part of their business off, and we've dealt with the taxes that arise from that. I work with various clients on a day-to-day basis, clients that I personally use every day, and there are also other clients like amazing sports teams that are some of the biggest in the world in their sport, and then also small businesses as well. I've been at EY for 6 months so far, and I will be here for another 3.5 years at least until I finish my apprenticeship, and then after that I can either choose to stay on at the company or I could decide to leave, but at the end of it I'll still be fully qualified as an accountant. We're going to quickly show you a video now, which will play shortly.
Hi everybody, my name's Freya and I'm an EY Digital Degree Apprentice working as a technology consultant in Newcastle. In my day-to-day role, I spend 80% of my time working on a third-party risk management project. For those of you that don't know, this is all about carrying out supplier due diligence assessments on our clients. The remaining 20% of my time is spent working towards my degree with BPP University in Digital Technology Solutions. I love this friendship because I love that it's given me the opportunity to get real-life working experience in the working world with real clients, but also allowed me to get my degree. The balance of practical experience with theory-based learning is, in my opinion, the best combination, and I would recommend this pathway of education to anyone who's interested in business and technology.
Hi, I'm Diana and I'm an audit associate at Tilney Smith Williamson. So Tilney Smith Williamson is a large company that deals in wealth management. So we look at companies and individuals and how we can manage their money, their accounts, their tax. So I personally work in audit, which means I sort of check the accounts, but also we have investments. We have 3 different branches that look after about £55 billion worth of assets, and we're a very student-based company, so there's a lot of us sort of my age. So I'm doing a 5-year apprenticeship, I'm 2.5 years into it, and at the end I'll be fully ACA qualified and doing a degree level apprenticeship. So once I'm done with my 5 years, I can either stay on or I can leave, but I will be fully qualified with 5 years of experience and a really good reputation as a firm. I'm really looking forward to answering any of your questions and letting you understand more about my journey and my company.
Thank you. I'm Aidan Goh. I am a Digital Performance Director at Omnicom Media Group, or OMG, which is what we'll call it now because it's a bit of a mouthful. So I've been working for around 8 years now, and I actually started as an apprentice when I was 19, specialised in digital marketing, which we can go into in further questions. But my job is essentially to buy media space on the internet or on social media for some of the biggest brands in the world. I've managed to work with, well, last year I launched a couple of cars with Mercedes-Benz. I worked with Marvel and Disney, launching the Avengers film. So it's a very, very diverse group of clients that I get to work on. We have a video explaining a bit more about what we do, because that isn't the only thing we do, but which I think we'll play now.
Hi, I'm Nikki Hare and I'm the Chief Development Officer for Omnicom Media Group in the UK. I want to talk to you a bit about what a media agency does and how we fit into the bigger advertising industry that we form a part of. So when I was younger, when I was at school, I didn't really think about how adverts made it into magazines or how they made it onto television or onto posters. Well, that's the role that a media agency plays. What we do is we work really closely with the ad agency that make the ads, and we work really close with our clients who tell us what they want to do, who they want to talk to, who they want to reach. And then we spend our time working out what media those people consume, where can we reach them, how can we capture their imagination. And then we work with the creative agencies for them to develop the work, and we then work with the media companies to deliver the space, to buy the spots on television or the poster sites, the ads on Instagram, the filters on Snap, and so on. So it's a massive array of choices to get involved in if you work in a media agency. Some examples that we've been working on most recently would be working with Sainsbury's and Channel 4 on the sponsorship of the Great British Bake Off. Perhaps when you see a spot in Gogglebox next, it might be a McDonald's one, and the team at Omnicom Media Group will have been responsible for that. Maybe you'll see a poster for Specsavers, should have gone to Specsavers campaign, and again, the team at one of our other agencies will have worked on that. Or perhaps you'll see an ad on your social media filter for MAC Cosmetics, and again we have a team that spend their time working on the social media strategy for those brands. So many different areas to go into if you work in a media agency. It's really exciting, and no 2 days are ever the same.
My name is Jahiro Alam and I am the People Team Executive at Omnicom Media Group UK. 3 years ago, I decided to join Omnicom as an apprentice rather than go through the norm of university. The 3 reasons why I decided to do an apprenticeship was the fact that I get to study whilst earning on the job, get real life experience, and also build lifelong networks and friends who will stay with me throughout my whole career. My journey whilst being on the apprenticeship was phenomenal, and once I had completed the apprenticeship, I was made permanent and also promoted, which is amazing, and I'm still buzzing for it today. One top tip to everyone out there who's looking to do an apprenticeship is go for it. Honestly, it's probably going to be one of the best choices you ever make.
So I decided to become an apprentice because I wasn't too sure about my next steps after finishing sixth form, but I knew personally that university wasn't for me. So this allowed me to gain hands-on experience in the real environment and learning all the right skills. I can have a good way to start my career while also progressing in a job role. And most importantly, I can meet a bunch of new people, make new friends, and enjoy what I do.
I'm Phil Sartain. I'm the Early Careers Lead at Aon. So who are Aon? We're a global financial services and professional services company. We operate in over 120 countries around the world and have 50,000 employees who support our clients. What do we do? So in a nutshell, we're in the business of helping companies make better decisions. What does that actually mean in reality? So there's 2 main parts to our business. So we're an insurance broker. So how we help our clients is by standing between, or being the people between, the companies who need insurance and insurance companies. So why do our clients need our help? Well, they often come to us with large risks that they need insurance coverage for. So that might be, for example, an energy company saying they need to insure a wind farm. Now, unfortunately, you can't just go onto a website and do a comparison for different insurance quotes for a wind farm. You need someone like Aon who can work with you to understand the risk, who can use mathematical modelling to understand the costs and the other aspects of that risk. And then you need us to be able to take that out into the insurance market for you and find the most appropriate type of insurance and negotiate that on their behalf. In addition to being an insurance broker, we also support pensions companies with their pension schemes risk. So what does that mean? So companies need pension schemes and have pension schemes to support their colleagues and their employees once they leave their organisations and retire. So we have mathematical models, we have mathematicians who design those, who help those companies understand their pension schemes and understand the level of assets, the amount of money that they need to hold in those schemes. And we also have investment professionals who help those pension schemes then invest that money. So we help companies invest $3.4 trillion worth of assets around the world. That's obviously a huge amount of money that we're helping different organisations decide how to invest that and decide how they want that to grow, and balancing risk with growth. What do we do in terms of our apprenticeships? We have a range of different apprenticeships. We have those that cover both our insurance business. We have technical apprenticeships such as actuarial roles. In our pensions business, we have investment roles, so a huge range of different level 3 and level 4 roles that all offer the opportunity then to move on to a level 5, 6 or 7 apprenticeship straight after that. So hopefully by the end of about 5 years, you'll be fully qualified in whatever area you've chosen to join. And I really look forward to the questions coming up.
That's really great insights, thank you. And thanks for explaining exactly what it is your companies do. And it's really lovely to have a diverse mix as well of different professional services that you all offer. So we've had lots of questions in, very, very quick ones. And I'm going to lead with Diana and Finn first, actually, because this is quite a personal question about why somebody would choose to do a degree apprenticeship rather than just going to university and doing a degree. And this is a really subjective question. I mean, it's different for everybody, but it'd be really great to get your reasons why you chose to do a degree apprenticeship.
So for me, I never really knew what I wanted to do. I was kind of in limbo, doing my A-levels, thinking uni's not quite for me. Like, I really enjoyed studying, but at the same time, I wanted to get some work experience, get out in the real world. And this was 2.5 years ago, so it was pre-COVID. So I actually did go into the real world, and there wasn't much opportunity for understanding what apprenticeships there were, but something that did appeal to me was working towards getting my ACA qualification, which is such a broad but well-respected finance qualification. And from that as well, at my company, I'm getting a level 7 apprenticeship, which is meaning I'm getting sort of the best of both worlds. It's degree level, no debt, work experience, taking 5 years to become qualified rather than the 6 it would take if you had gone to uni. So for me, when I kind of decided, you know what, this is the qualification I want, it was a no-brainer.
Some very similar reasons. I sort of wanted to have no debt, because obviously the debt that comes is at least 27 grand before you even actually start sort of taking in living costs, such as tuition. Also the fact I'm getting paid, I'm sure a lot of people will want to know, £22,100 starting, and that grows every year, which is obviously a great salary to be on at such a young age. And just on top of that, being able to build my network for 3 years longer than the rest of my cohort that would have gone off to uni last year, and 3 years of work experience over everyone else as well.
That's a really great point, actually, you're building the network. And did you both know that you always wanted to work within finance?
Yeah, I actually have always wanted to, or at least go down a finance-based route, and luckily enough there were apprenticeships open and available that I could apply to.
And what?
I sort of didn't really have any idea, and the thing with this qualification is it doesn't limit you to just one industry. It doesn't just limit me to audit. It could mean that I could work within any company doing in the finance, and it is a very broad thing, finance. So for me it was a good opportunity to, I didn't know what I wanted to do, but get a good qualification and move on from that.
We did hear that earlier this week on the Finance Day as well, actually, and every single organisation requires finance support and people to work within their finance teams and departments. Phil, I know at Aon you offer different levels of apprenticeships as well, and in terms of what those are and how people are entering into Aon, can you give us a bit more detail?
Yeah, absolutely. So all of our apprenticeships at Aon people enter after A-levels, BTECs or an equivalent qualification, so after 18. And people who come in to join us at that apprentice level, so that school leaver or college leaver level, will come in and start on a level 3 or a level 4 apprenticeship, just depending on the part of the business. As part of that apprenticeship, you'll also study for a relevant professional qualification that's built into the apprenticeship that's relevant for the area that you're joining. So if you're joining into our insurance business, you do qualification through the Chartered Insurance Institute and different qualifications for different areas. Having then completed that over about an 18-month period, you move straight on then to a level 6 qualification in some areas, perhaps a level 5 or 7, again a little bit dependent on the area that you've joined. But again, that would give you a further then 2 or 3 years, again depending on that level, to finish your qualifications in that area. Throughout that time, you're a permanent employee with Aon and continuing to progress your career, so you're getting pay rises and promotions throughout that period, and your work's getting more complex and you're able to move around our business.
And Aidan, having yourself done an apprenticeship as well, tell us your decision on the apprenticeship that you took and your career progression now from that.
Yeah, so to be completely honest, it was quite lucky where I found this job. I had no idea what I wanted to do coming out of school. I actually went to uni for about 3 months and dropped out with a ridiculous amount of debt, so it was a very expensive 3 months of my life. I knew I wanted to work in something quite current, and digital marketing was still emerging when I first started my career. Found a job in social media and just realised I was really good at it and just really trained on that. My apprenticeship itself was around 2 years at Omnicom. We offer 18 months to 2-year apprenticeships. Most of them are slightly different to what I did a while ago, but there's a range of them. So yeah, that's what happened.
Thank you. And what's the earliest age somebody can join the apprenticeship at OMG?
Sure, so it's actually 16 when you can start. We do have a range of like school leavers though, but from GCSEs you can apply for those roles. There's also partners that we work with who help put people on courses, essentially like 8-week speed courses that will allow you to get up to speed on what we do and give you a few more skills before you enter into our group. So I believe we actually have someone in the chat who might be able to share more info on that. So yeah, there's a few options.
Wonderful, and that leads me nicely on to the next question actually. So in terms of skills, obviously if you're 16 you've done GCSEs, they're pretty standard, you know, everyone studies very similar ones. Is there any subject that you say would prepare somebody for an apprenticeship within your organisations, or specific skill sets? And I'll head back down to Phil to start.
Yeah, absolutely. We're pretty broad, and I think that's a really kind of positive thing, hopefully for everybody out there. So I think it depends on the role. It is ultimately kind of the answer. We have some quite technical roles where maths could be a really useful skill for. So if you want to be an actuary in the future, creating mathematical models, then you need to love maths and be good at maths. But equally, there's lots of our roles that are actually much more client-facing, much more people-orientated, where perhaps you just need to enjoy working with others as part of a team, because you're always part of a team delivering for a client, and you need to have strong communication skills, written communication skills and verbal communication skills. But again, those will vary depending on the area, but I guess what's worth knowing is that you could have done potentially any subject and any type of qualification, and there will still be a role for you somewhere within one of those apprenticeships.
And Aidan, would you say that there's a particular subject area or a passion or a skill set that you look for the apprenticeships?
I would say IT skills are quite important, just having general computer competency, I guess, like knowing how to open up applications, stuff like that. Where in our industry we have really unique systems that don't really get taught in schools, but they're all super simple, so as long as you can navigate around on a simple website, you'll be absolutely fine.
Diana, obviously you told us that you didn't necessarily know you wanted to work in finance. Would you say there's any subjects that you excelled in at school that really helped you?
I did 3 essay-based A-levels that have got nothing to do with my job, and I would personally say that I'm loving and doing quite well in my job. So especially with something like finance, you don't necessarily need to have a love for numbers. You sort of need to have your basic maths, your GCSE maths sort of level, but other than that, it's very client-facing. So it's the people skills more than the taught skills.
Great. And would you say that's the same for EY?
Sort of very similar. Maths is obviously a preferred subject in quite a lot of the roles we have, but there is some variation. There are some roles that don't require maths at all or very little. One other thing I would say that could be quite helpful specifically for my department is actually having the ability to speak another language, especially a more commonly wide spoken language, for example, Mandarin, Japanese, German, something like that. If you can speak another language, great addition, but again, it's not something that's vital.
And when you say maths is helpful, is there a minimum level, grade level that you look for?
I believe it's a B, but our company website where you can apply will give you a lot better information than that. It was a B when I applied. I don't know if it will have changed.
Thank you for my lead. So actually on the website where you're streaming this from, there are additional resources that you can download for today's session, and in fact for the whole of the week insights as well, where each of today's employers' careers website links are on there, as well as their social media links as well, where you can find out a little bit more about their culture and also have a finger on the pulse of when their early talent schemes are opening up again. Just quickly on that actually, do you use LinkedIn or what social media channels do you commonly use to communicate the roles and the apprenticeship opportunities that you have? Aidan, you're nodding the most, so I'm going to go to you first.
So you can go to our LinkedIn page and you'll find the same links that Amanda just went to there. That is the predominant area where you'll find it. Our website and our careers page gets updated very regularly with roles. We don't have too many deadlines. There might be some cohorts, but traditionally roles do pop up throughout the year. So your best bet is just to keep checking our site and then just set like little alerts and bookmarks when they come through.
Great. Has anybody got anything different to add on that? Where another thing that popped up actually is register your interest as well. If you have register your interest links in case your applications are closed at that particular time, where people can be notified that your roles have reopened. We've got a couple of slightly linked questions in now. So people want to know if your organisations are quite corporate. And this is a tricky one because obviously we've all been in lockdown, we've all worked from home where you can wear exactly what you want to wear, but how corporate are your organisations, and is there a dress code when you go into the office every day? Finn, I'll start with you.
So we have a policy called Dress for Your Day, which is essentially what it says. So it's dress for your day. So for example, today I'm at an event, so I'm in a suit, whereas when I'm working from home, I will be in pyjamas 95% of the time. I will be fully willing to admit that. And when I go into the office, if I don't plan on facing a client or if I have no planned meetings to face a client, I might just go in something like jeans and t-shirt. Whereas if I do plan on facing a client, whether that's virtually or actually in person, I'll wear something similar to what I'm wearing right now.
Great. And at Tilney Smith Williamson?
Again, we've got a dress for your diary sort of approach. It's become very casual recently since the return, even most clients. So I went to a client site on Monday and I went in sort of a similar outfit to what I'm wearing today, and I met the client in their blue jeans and a jumper. So it just varies really depending on what your day is, what your client likes, and yeah, it's not really very strict at all.
The media industry is very different, Aidan.
This is the smartest I've dressed in about 2 years. So, no, like I often just wear hoodies into work and t-shirts, and I'm quite senior now in our agency, so it's quite a casual environment. In terms of like the culture, like it's a very non-corporate experience and feel. We often have lots of parties going on and events with media owners who we work with who might take us out. Summer and Christmas are normally just really, really fun for us. So yeah.
Any different to Aon?
No different. So I think again, very much dress for your day at Aon, and I think the culture's become a lot more relaxed. I think broadly across finance and professional services. I know it certainly has at Aon. We're very much kind of focused on people bringing their authentic selves to work and just getting to know and have fun with their colleagues. So I wouldn't let that perception of that stuffy financial services put people off, because I think that culture and that stereotype has changed a lot.
Great. We've got one question in regarding what the gender split is like at your organisations as well. It's been a real treat actually all week to see such a mixed, diverse panel of representatives for each industry. But with the finance industry, what is the male to female ratios within your organisations, and is there other support groups that you have to welcome in other people into the industry? And I'll start with you, Phil.
Yeah, the person who works in HR. So yes, no, absolutely. So there is really good gender diversity. Certainly if I think about our early careers programs, so our apprentices, our graduates, our interns, people coming in at the start of their career, our gender balance last year actually ended up being 50-50, which was great. And I think we see that kind of broadly across our organisation. At the more junior levels, up to manager level, there's a pretty good balance broadly around 50-50. It is less at a more senior level, and that is something that's true across the broader financial services industry in most organisations, but something the industry is working really hard to address. I know we've got a female CEO, Julie, in the UK, and she's very passionate about that. She's got a large leadership team and really good gender diversity on her leadership team. It will take time to change, but I think, again, there's been a real culture shift around that, and it's those old stereotypes have gone. And more broadly, we've got some great support networks and inclusion networks in Aon, and I think that's replicated across a lot of different organisations, from gender inclusion networks through to pride networks, that, for example, that I'm part of, multicultural networks, and many others. They're all ultimately diversity groups, a chance for us to bring colleagues together who might identify in the same way, but also allies of those colleagues as well. So you don't necessarily need to identify with that group to be a part of that group.
Great. Aidan, what is the gender split?
Yeah, so I can't remember the exact numbers, but I believe we are mostly female skewed, and it's been a while. Diversity and inclusion at Omnicom has been a massive priority for us over the last couple of years anyway. We're trying to make sure that our company is representative of what the UK looks like now. For people like me, like you see, I'm Asian, I want to see people who do well, who look like me, and that is very, very important for many young people now. We actually have 8 different steering groups across our company, which focus on each different part of diversity, with people focusing on those, so we can try and tackle as many issues as possible, such as like disability and religion and even race, So it's a very, very diverse place to work.
Brilliant. And it is such a hot topic now as well, just to ensure that all workplaces are as inclusive as they can possibly be, not just to tick a box and get the ratios right internally, but to be able to serve your clients the best you possibly can as well. Myself, I'm an advocate of pioneering to get more women into technology and women into engineering as well. And likewise, I know at Ernst & Young, you participate in the Women in Gender Days that we do as well. Is that any different at Tilney Smith Williamson?
So we do the intakes tend to be about 50-50. there is a lot of women in the audit department. I'm happy to say there is a lot more of us than there are men. And sort of as we go higher up, as Phil was saying, higher up it is more of a male base, which is such a shame, but you can see that that is starting to change. And that is something that at Tilney Smith Williamson, they are working really hard to sort of get more women into management roles and sort of we've got a diversity and inclusivity committee, which they sort of do votes for every year about who gets to be in it, and they're working to promote, like when there's events on, we have quite a lot of events, and yeah, there's a lot of committees and it is looking a lot better than 2 years ago.
Excellent, thank you. I'm going to go to you, Finn, for this next one, because you're the earliest into your career start of our panel. Have you looked into yet the career progression within Ernst & Young?
Yes, I have actually. So, not really a policy as such, but there's the idea is that once you finish your apprenticeship at whatever time you do, so your apprenticeship should only be in theory 4 years, assuming you take your exams at the right time. But obviously they do allow for extensions for various reasons. So assuming you take 4 years to finish your apprenticeship, it's then every 2 years after that you should gain a promotion in theory, and they decide that at the end of every 2 year period, and they'll have a discussion with your management team that are above you that sort of look after you and track your progress, and then after that they'll then decide whether or not you get that promotion, and then as of January 1st, 2 years after, you will then receive that promotion, assuming you've been given it.
Wow, that's really structured. And so do you get assigned a buddy or a mentor when you join the company who works with you to meet your goals?
So I've got a buddy, which is someone in the year above me who is also a school leaver. I've got 2 mentors, and then I also have someone that's in charge of managing my workload, who is is in senior management. He is 27, was also a school leaver, and is now in senior management at 27. So he's doing very well for himself.
Amazing. And Aidan, obviously, we've heard about your progression through your own career, but at OMG, you start as an apprentice. What is the career progression available?
Sure. So our apprenticeships normally last between 18 and 24 months. And normally after 12 months, you get promoted from an apprentice to what we either call an assistant or an account executive. And then we have actually quite an informal process. It's not as rigid as someone like Finley's, where it is, you get out what you put in, is what I like to say to people. You know, I've progressed quite quickly in my career and I've worked really hard for that, but we try to make sure that people can take their time and make sure that they are ready for that next jump before they go to it.
And Phil, do you have a set structure at Aon?
Yeah, absolutely. So our apprentices would usually get promoted towards the end of their apprenticeship. So normally on completion around the 18-month point is when our apprentices would expect to be promoted. And then it's regularly after that, much like with Finley, there's a very structured approach. So normally that happens at the end of an annual performance cycle where people will have, where your manager and others will have essentially graded your performance over that time. If you're performing well, then there's an expectation in your role that there's an expectation that you be able to be promoted, and ultimately the sky's the limit. So Julie, our UK CEO, she came through a youth training scheme when she came into the industry, and she's now progressed all the way through to being our UK CEO and one of our most senior leaders globally. So very much the sky is the limit.
That's great to hear. One question about where you work. Phil, I know you've moved, you've relocated, and all thanks to COVID, people now have that flexibility to work from home as well. But is there a set number of days that you each have to work in your offices? How is it managed at your organisations? We'll start with you, Finn.
Sure. So at the moment we have a 2-day-a-week policy, which is a minimum. It's ultimately our choice if we would like to take more days. So we have, so each department has their own day. Obviously there are multiple departments with the same day, but each department has their own day, and then you pick another day to come in. So the day that you have that's assigned for the department is just so you can see everyone and still socialise with people, although you're working from home. And then the second day is just your choice.
Great. And is that very similar for all of your organisations? No, we're shaking head.
No, mine's a bit a lot more flexible than that. We sort of not do what we want. We have like a structure, but with my job especially, I work with different teams. So I'll be working with sort of 2 people under me for a week, and then the following week another 2 people, and it's all about my time spent with them training. So it's so much better to now we can be in the office together, we can go out to our client site. So I was in Wembley a couple of weeks ago. Last week I was at St Paul's, sort of being with your team, but also there are weeks where I spend the whole week at home if I'm working by myself, so it's very flexible.
It's so lovely to have a choice now as well, isn't it? And I know from talking to you previously, it's definitely, and in fact the other employers earlier this week, it's definitely added a lot more flexibility to the organisations, giving each employee their opportunity and choice. I just saw a question there and it's popped out. Sorry. There we go. Obviously, Finn, because you're the youngest into it, you started in COVID times. So I knew there was a link there with the COVID and working from home. So we've heard from a lot of employers this week that assessment centres, a lot of worry from the questions coming in, how do I best prepare for an assessment centre? But obviously yours must have been virtual.
Yeah.
And so it'd be really good to get an understanding of the journey of making an application on the apprenticeship programme, how soon somebody would be told that they're through to the next round, and what actually are the different processes within your organisation. So we'll start with you first, Finn.
It's a bit hard to sort of explain because it will vary by department. Because we employ on a rolling basis, there may be some departments that are sort of really urging and need 5-10 people, where there might only be a department that needs 1 person. So the department that only needs 1 person might be a little bit sort of more slow in responding, because they're obviously trying to whittle down possibly hundreds of applications down to who deserves that 1 spot. Whereas if there's 10 available spots and they're trying to press it down, then it's obviously a lot easier to, and they'll give you a quicker response. In terms of preparing for an assessment centre, I don't think there's a lot that you can do, because it varies by company. All I'd say is just be yourself, because that's all the companies want to see is who are you as a person, what sort of traits do you have, are you a leader, are you someone that would prefer to take a backseat role but works very hard. And they take a variety of people. It's not just when they're not always looking for leaders, and they're not always looking for just someone that will just grind away at work. They want people that are diverse and different and interesting.
And Phil, you have no doubt been involved in a lot of assessment centres over the years. Has there been a shift in how your organisation prefers to run them now as we're coming out of lockdown?
Yeah, I think that's a really interesting question. So I think we're definitely seeing a shift across the broader recruitment market, particularly in finance and professional services, through to more virtual assessment centres. And that may stay that way. And that's not necessarily a bad thing either. I think some people are worried about them. Actually, in terms of the content, certainly from an Aon perspective, and I think most employers are the same, actually the content of assessment centres hasn't changed a great deal from when it was in person to now being virtual. We still have our group activities. We're still working together as part of that. You're still hearing from other apprentices or graduates. You're still doing your one-on-one interview. Obviously, it's just over video. You're still doing written activities and things. So all of those things are still happening, but perhaps from the convenience of your home, with you able to put a few post-it notes and other things around you, hopefully to make that a little bit easier. So hopefully, it's a really kind of positive thing, and makes roles more accessible, and it involves less travel for people. So I think hopefully everybody will see that as a really positive way forward. But there are still plenty of options to interact with employers face to face, and I think many employers are thinking much more about, once people have been made offers, how they bring those people together, perhaps pre-joining and give them other opportunities to create the network and meet people in person, perhaps before making their final decision, or even after they've made it, just to reconfirm that decision.
And training's really important as well. It must have been quite tricky to go from such a hands-on training cohort, whether you have 1 or 2 intakes a year, to doing it all remotely. I know we've all had the learning curve of even speaking with our own colleagues who we've worked with for years in person to moving it virtually. Are you coming out of that at OMG, Aidan? Would you say people are moving more into physical interviews and things?
Oh, yeah. For interviews, yes. So there are more physical interviews, but there's still online ones. If people can't make it to our office, for instance, we still try to accommodate who is applying for it. In terms of training, though, most of that has actually shifted online because we do have flexi hours and hybrid working, so it gives people opportunities to learn wherever they are, whether they're in the office or whether they're not in the office. So fortunately, where we work with so many partners like Facebook or Twitter, all of those have always been online, even before the pandemic, so there wasn't too much of a shift for us there.
That's great, thank you. Another one for you, Aidan, actually. Do I have to have studied media?
No, I did not study media when I started. I actually studied geography, very, very different. To be honest, I would say soft skills are really important in this industry. When it comes to your application at Omnicom, we actually anonymize all of that information, so we don't see who it is to remove that bias for whoever is applying. So just be yourself, stand out. As long as you've got a good brain and you're sensible, you'll be absolutely fine.
Brilliant advice, thank you. What is the apprenticeship average salary in professional services? Finn, you mentioned yours earlier. So we'll just quickly go down the line. If you know it, that would be great.
I'm not sure on the average, but at EY, if you work in London, it's 22,100 starting, and outside of London, it is 19,100 starting.
Mine is at Smith Williamson, it's about 22,000 starting, and then when you qualify, you end up on about 50,000.
Ours is, I believe, £21,500 when you first start, and then you get 6-month incremental raises for your first 18 months.
Yeah, ours vary between about 18 and 22, depending if you're based in London and your precise role.
And also, let's not forget, you save a whopping £9,000 a year if you're doing a degree apprenticeship as well. So you save on your tuition fees and your living costs as well, which you mentioned earlier, Finn. Wow, that's hugely competitive as starting salaries. It's amazing. So lots of questions in about strengths and skill sets and things. And actually, Aidan, you answered that really, really well. Are there any skills, soft skills, training that you offer as organisations that new starters can join to? Aidan, you mentioned you do digital training. Yeah. Do any of your other companies here offer additional training that new starters can take?
So we have mandatory training, in fact, that we have to take, and it varies by department how much there is. But so far, I think I've done 15 additional days of training since I've started out of 6 months. So
wow.
It's really, there are additional days as well. It's just sort of down to whether you A, want to do them, and B, how many there are available in your department.
Great. Has anyone else got anything to add to that?
We sort of, on your first couple of days, you'll have the basic training. You're not thrown straight into the job. I had no idea how even to use Excel. So we had some basic Excel training, and then you get some soft skill training all before you even walk up to the office floor. So you're definitely prepared.
Yeah, absolutely. Same at Aon, so we have a really structured induction program that's moving back to a hybrid approach, so initially kind of the first week or so in person, and then moving to more virtual then at that stage with other in-person sessions, both teaching people about the technical aspects of the role, but also building up some of those softer skills that we were talking about. So you kind of your ability to be able to network, your kind of presentation and personal impact, but not presenting in front of a big group, but just learning how to kind of present and talk to others, perhaps in a smaller meeting, and in client meetings or group meetings that you might be going to, just helping you with some confidence and some coaching around those areas. And that training happens during the first few weeks, but also is continual, particularly during that first 18 months or so of the programme. We have a lot of structure that's layered on top of the apprenticeship.
And it's all constant learning, isn't it? Even when you get your mentor assigned to you, it could be a one-to-one chat for an hour, and without realising you've taken on so much more just from that hour meeting with your mentor. I've got a brilliant question for you, Aidan. Somebody's class would like to know more about the Marvel Avengers film work that you get to work on. Probably
sure.
Keep it a bit more general in terms of the scope of work and types of companies that you work with for.
So this was actually a few years ago, obviously, when it first came out. So as at Omnicom, brands come to us with budgets and with a brief, and they say, we're doing this, can you make sure we have a very diverse media mix, and how can we put those ads in front of people? I specialise in digital marketing, but more nichely social media. So my job was to make sure I'm finding the right people in the right place. So basically I just put ads everywhere because it's Marvel and everyone loves them. The cool thing about stuff like that though is like we have really, really tight relationships with our clients. So I actually managed to see Avengers a couple of weeks earlier before everyone else and stuff like that. So it was really, really fun one. To be honest, I can't remember everything off the top of my head, but we've done a ton of stuff. Like I worked on the Incredibles 2 campaign, and we actually made a game for people within Snapchat, and we partnered with Snapchat to make sure that we were like getting people to play with it and stuff. But yeah, it's super creative, it's super fun. That's all I can remember. I'm so sorry.
And every campaign's completely different as well, isn't it? We've got one specific to start with for EY. So. Obviously, EY is a global company. Is there the opportunity for international travel within the apprenticeship programme?
Yes, there is. It's all based on whether you are needed in another country or not. At our level, it's not very common, I will be honest, and obviously due to COVID as well, that has put a massive sort of stop to that. But we are hoping soon to go back to a situation where we can start to travel again consistently. But then again, it also does vary by department. I'm very lucky being in an international tax department, working with teams overseas every day, that I can potentially travel in the future. But with some other departments, you will not travel at all.
Okay, what about Cannes? Have you been sent to Cannes, Aidan?
I have not, no. I have been taken on a couple of trips. I got taken to San Francisco before. It's not really part of your day job. Like we do everything in the UK. We have offices around the world, and there are people who do transfer between those offices sometimes. We've actually implemented a brand new policy a couple of weeks ago, though, which means that you can work anywhere in the world for 2 weeks, and you can take 2 weeks holiday, stay out there and just do whatever you want, and then stay out there an additional 2 weeks while you're working from home, basically. So there are opportunities like that.
And Aon, you were nodding when Finn was saying if our clients need us out in a certain country, you get the opportunity to go. Is that the same?
Yeah, absolutely. Kind of very much driven by client need, your skill set, and I think as Finlay said, kind of your level and your role in the organisation will have an impact on that as well. So the more experience you gain in a certain area, the more specialised you are, then those opportunities for secondments, be those short-term permanent moves or just kind of business trips, those come up. But as Finlay said, they tend to come up a little bit further into your career once you've developed some of that specialisation. Not saying they don't happen at a more junior level, but don't expect to come in after 2 weeks and then be sent business class off to Sydney. Unfortunately, I haven't found that role yet where that exists. So, but maybe it does out there somewhere.
We all need clients in Barbados. What's the hardest thing about doing your job? And I'm going to start from Finlay. We'll go down the line.
I think it's the sheer potential amount of work that you can get at once. Being like a quite junior level, there are a lot of people that will want you to do things for them. So very senior people will come up to you and go, can you do this piece of admin work for me? So you've got to very much manage your time well and sort of know whether you're going to have time to do something later on in that day. Like, for example, at 10 o'clock in the morning, someone could come up to me and go, could you do this piece of work for me? And I know, because I've got a list of 10 other things to do, I'm not going to have the time. So I go, no, sorry. And actually being stubborn enough to say no to someone that is of high seniority to you as well.
And that actually is one of the best skills for managing your time and workload and communicating that I think you can learn quite quickly as well. So for you, it's about trying to prioritise workload. Diana, what about you?
I suppose I sort of started off in the same boat as you, and now I'm more managing a team. Managing my clients' expectations is a very big thing. So we sort of might have a 2-week turnaround, and it's saying, well, to my client, if you don't give me this by X day, then it's not going to get done. And again, it's about managing a project, and sort of being able to look at your own workload, your junior's workload, and make sure everyone's sort of happy, got enough to do and not too much to do.
Can I just say, 2.5 years into an apprenticeship programme and you're managing a team. Yeah. Amazing.
That's pretty cool.
That's really cool. Aidan, what's the hardest challenge for you? Or maybe from when you started as an apprentice, really, rather than now?
I've got very different challenges now. For me, it was actually, when I came out of school, it wasn't having those office etiquette skills, I guess. Like, I didn't really know how to behave in an office or a professional environment. It took me a while to really understand that. Little things like communicating to people. Like, I don't come from a very wealthy background, so the way I speak now actually isn't how I speak outside of work, you know? So understanding how to do that was one of the hardest things there. But once I nailed it, I just started to fly, and it was quite easy.
I think for our apprentices, one of the key things that they need to do, and some it comes very naturally, others it doesn't, is being proactive. I think that's being proactive with asking questions so you understand a piece of work and gathering the information that you need, going and asking people for help when you need it, or perhaps when you're done and you've got spare time, going and making sure that you're letting people know that and you're getting that next piece of work. So that proactivity is a really important skill that all of our apprentices need to have, and some need to develop more than others.
Amazing, thank you. A really nice, easy question, I think, for you all now. How do I apply for an apprenticeship at your organisations? Phil, I'm going to start with you.
Nice and easy. Apply online through our website.
Same here. I think our links are being sent after this, so
Yep.
you'll have all the information where you can apply there.
Yeah, I mean, if you check our LinkedIn, you'll be able to see we've got quite a lot of events coming up about application processes, and yeah, so check them out.
Yeah, certainly. Same again. Apply online. It's all there. It's all very straightforward.
Brilliant. And in terms of the colleges that you work with for your apprenticeship programmes, can students apply via those colleges and be in touch with you that way, or is it really best just to go to your company websites?
For us at Aon, it's definitely best to go to the company website. So we work with private professional learning providers. They're still Ofsted rated, so that's really important. So what they do is still educationally really sound, and we work with the best in our industries, but they're not colleges or universities. They're private learning providers that we work with, so you do need to go through our website to apply.
Great. And in terms of the opportunities that you have available for apprenticeships, where are they based? Where are your locations? And we'll start with you again, Phil.
Ours are all over the UK, so most major cities, and our website's got really good details about which apprenticeship programs are available in which offices, because as I'm sure you can imagine, not everything is available everywhere. Our offices vary in size, so it tends to be London has pretty much a full representation of everything, and so do some of the larger cities like Birmingham. Others like Leicester might have a more restricted representation, but our website would have details of those.
So the majority of ours are in London. We have an office just about 10 minutes walk from London Bridge, or quite close to Blackfriars Station. There are a few other offices around the UK, but that's where the majority of our staff sits.
Yeah, again, London is our sort of main location, so we're quite near St Paul's, but also we've got locations all across the UK, Dublin, and actually also in the Channel Islands.
Yeah, we're very similar. We've got 2 offices in London. We've got one in London Bridge and one in Canary Wharf. We also have offices in Leeds, Reading, Newcastle, Manchester and Birmingham as well.
Great. And is there the opportunity for you guys with more office locations that once you start your apprenticeship, if once you finish that you want to move to one of the other office locations, you can do that?
Yeah, definitely. And so we have a lot of people who train at our Guildford office, for example, and once they're qualified might move to the London office. But we're also part of Nexia, which means that we're also partnered with offices all over the world. So there's also opportunities to do secondments to Australia, America. I'm actually hoping to do one to Australia myself once I'm qualified. So
that's really exciting. Right, so top tips for building your network. So obviously a lot of people watching this, they're still studying for their GCSEs, some be in college. What advice would you give to them to start their research or to start to build a network for themselves? Phil?
So I think you're already doing the first step in that. So kind of I think learning more about careers, watching things like the Insight series are an absolutely fantastic place to start. I think if there's a particular career path that you're looking at, then if that career path perhaps has a professional body, so in insurance we've got the Chartered Insurance Institute, for example. They're a great place so if you want to learn more about the broader industry before you then start researching into individual firms. But I think it's being proactive and starting that research is really important, talking to your careers advisors and getting them to give you advice and guidance as well. But there's some fantastic stuff available online. It's just getting past that first hurdle of starting that Google search.
I think make a LinkedIn account and follow all the companies that you're interested in, see what they're posting, see who's engaging with them, and just try to connect with random people. We're quite a nice culture, I guess, like across the whole industry. So just connect with random people, see if they'll answer a few questions for you. Reach out to like a lot of agencies, and a lot of companies have their own recruiters, like we do at Omnicom. Reach out to those guys; they'll put you in touch with the right people. But basically just start, you know.
LinkedIn has popped up, as you would expect when you've been in the industry for a long time, a lot this week, and it will be completely new to many of you. And those of you that aren't sure what LinkedIn, it's social media for business, basically. All of the companies that we've been featuring this week do have LinkedIn accounts. You can go on there. You can find out what news is happening in their organisations. They often post on there when their application processes are opening, all of their success stories. You can really get a true feel for the culture of the organisations there as well. And what I think a lot of the early talent teams do is they put very candid videos on there from employees and apprentices within their organisations, and they tend to pop them on Instagram channels and their LinkedIn pages as well. So great advice, Aidan. Definitely create a LinkedIn channel. I should also point out at this stage as well that your game plan have lots of very short videos on there offering you advice, whether it's on soft skills or where to go and search for certain career paths. We're also, we've just come out of National Apprenticeship Week as well, so there's a huge amount of information out there. My advice would be to get online and just start searching. But from two people who have obviously got onto an apprenticeship programme and you're partway through it, what networks have you found that have been better for you?
So for me, it was trying to get myself a little bit of work experience. So even if it's somewhere local to you, anything, even if you get a little Saturday job, you're developing your skills of like having a job. It's definitely something that will help, but LinkedIn was such a good one. Especially with, like, for example, Tilney Smith Williamson, we broadcast all the dates of our sort of events where you could talk to someone like me who's gone through the process and ask any questions you've got even before starting an application.
And Finn?
Yeah, leading on to the very similar things, just speak to people, get a Saturday job. I think I had a Saturday job. I started working when I was 15 and simply just just talking to people in a sort of professional setting where I had to be professional was preparing me. And talk to your parents. I'm sure everyone's parents will know someone that will be in the industry that you want to work in. That's a great way to start, because then they can start giving you advice into how to get into that industry and how to develop yourself.
Really good advice, really good advice. We are coming to the end of the session now. Thank you so much. We have had some amazing questions from you all. And sorry, we didn't get through to answering all of them, but hopefully you've had some really great insights from the 4 employers here today. Thank you so much for your time. Everything that you've heard today will be available on demand on the page that you're already on. Also, don't forget those additional resources as well. You can download those. All of the company's website links are on there, as well as their social media handles. And all that is left for me to say is a huge thank you to our sponsors and employer partners today, and our host, Mott MacDonald, that's had us here for the whole week. And thank you for listening, and good luck in your future career.